Hey guys, today we're going to talk with Devan, who not only is a personal trainer since many years and has a lot of expertise with different type of bodies and people, but he also owns a gym. Actually, many gyms. He started a franchising, which is called Strive 11. And this is a complete different type of gym, so I really want you to listen carefully today. Also, would like to add that he hired a lot of people already. So it's quite interesting to get some tips from him on how you can spot the right personal trainer and if that trainer is actually qualified to be there with you. Stay tuned because today we're going to talk about those topics and many more. I'm EGR and this is Aduthlete. Hey Devan, how are you going today?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Very good, thank you. Thank you for being here today on Aduthlete. It's really interesting what you do actually because you have a franchising of gyms, and it may sound to some people just like, business as usual, but after we talked, actually, I was really interested in your new system. So I would like also maybe to share this because it's one of a kind, I would say, and there's not so many gyms like the ones you're opening. So I think it's a interesting thing that people could benefit from. And but first, I have a question for you. Actually, what was the reason why you decided to start this business?
Before the gym, I was a personal trainer and I was personal training without exaggeration, because I didn't do online personal training. It was all in person, anywhere from 12 to 16 hours in a day. And and that was, 5 days a week, 6 days a week for the most part. And so it got to the point where I couldn't really take on new clients, and I didn't like the fact that I had to turn people down or that they couldn't afford personal training because it is expensive. So in between our personal training sessions, my clients would go to, these boot camps or these other programs, and essentially they over the years they would come back with the same problems from different boot camps. And I was like, man, it's crazy that no one has just solved this like common set of problems. So over the next year, I started trying to design a program, the gym model that would encompass the solution to each of these problems. And since we've opened, it's one of those things where that's our main focus and why we have a competitive edge, because we don't do things like everyone else is doing them.
So, and how is this basically working? So, do you have like all gyms, the devices, whatever, or how does it work? Because the last time you told me it was a little bit different. You have stations, right?
Yeah, so the gym is Strive 11 Fitness, and the 11 comes from the 11 stations that we have. Now, the stations aren't like, most people might think of like curbs or something where it's like a bench press or, something that's set in that one station every single time. But that's not the case for us. Every single day, the stations are different depending on the workout of the day. And so, like today is body weight. Yesterday was glutes and cardio. The day before push day. And so we have different days for each. So each station is correlated to that muscle split. And each of the stations is set on a one individual timer for the room, so everyone's rotating together, so you're not waiting on someone to finish their set or finish their reps, and no one's waiting on you. The flow of the gym just keeps moving. Right now, one of the biggest differentiating factors between us and a lot of our competition is the fact that we have no class times. So even though we are a boot camp style model, we operate more like a big box gym where people can come in around their schedule versus, our schedule of class times.
Okay, so basically you just come in and you can do whenever you want your training, and you always have someone there for you, basically.
Yes, you can come in whenever it works for you during our operating hours. And right when you walk in, one of the trainers will walk over, they'll show you the warm up. And then when you're ready, they'll put you into one of the stations. The other cool thing is that, our workouts aren't only an hour like a lot of our competition, or even some of them being 45 minutes. Ours is all depending on one, your fitness level, and two, your schedule for the day. So you can do a 30-minute workout, you can do a 75-minute workout, all depending on what you want to do. The membership is the same.
Well, then it's pretty convenient, I would say, because I mean, if I think about, I mean, I don't know the pricing, but like if I think about paying a private personal trainer, it's quite expensive,
Hmm.
and I don't know if you want to do it once a week, it's gonna be 4 times a month. It can be quite pricey, but
No,
if you just pay
100%.
a membership, right, it's once in a month.
Yeah, that thing is coming from when I was a personal trainer. I mean, most people tend to do 2 sessions a week. So if you figure you're
Mhm.
paying anywhere from
Wow.
$50 to $100 an hour, depending on the personal trainer, you're spending, a few $100 easily, if not closer to $1,000 for the month, where our memberships range anywhere from 120 to $160, and that's unlimited. You can come, 365 days in the year, so it's a lot more convenient, but people tend to see that membership price, and without factoring in like a personal trainer and stuff, they're like, well, there's gyms that are, $20 a month and $40 a month.
Mhm.
It's like there definitely is, but unless you know what to do when you go to those gyms, you're going to end up hiring a personal trainer. Now that $20 a month gym is $620 a month.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can relate totally to this. And I think it's also a good addition, like personally, because I do different things.
Hmm.
If you want to add something on top and you need some specific advice, you need someone who is trained for that. And I would do it, because for example, at this moment, yes, I do go to the gym, but I'm kind of stuck with the same exercises. And yeah, I mean, yes, you can do your research, but it's not always the same thing. So once in a while, I do have to have like a session with a personal trainer. Otherwise, it just doesn't work out.
No, definitely. And I mean, the other cool thing is that some of our members do have memberships like at a regular gym, the $20 a month, $40 a month gym. And then they come to us in between, one, to get new workouts, two, to, switch it up a little bit. But we do have members like we're not, some of our competition is more expensive than us. We're on the lower end, and it's not because we just want to be the cheapest. It's because based off our model, we're not confined to the typical boot camp requirements of,
Mhm,
let's say 20 people in a class. Now the class is booked, no one else can
mhm.
come in. People are rotating out every 3 minutes. They're finishing their workouts, they're starting our workouts, so we can have more people in a given hour, so we can lower our prices a little bit. Now the other things that we do offer that members like is that we have a nutritional app, right? So we help people with their meal plans. We have an in-body scanner, so we help with people with their body composition, their body fat, muscle mass, water retention, all of those things. So they come to us and they do all those checks, and they get all that extra advice that you would get from a personal trainer for a fraction of the price.
Yeah, yeah, that's convenient for someone who may start from zero. Sometimes they won't see it immediately, but like
Hmm.
if you already started and you've done some stuff, then definitely you're like, oh wow, where can I get that, right?
Exactly.
The whole package basically. So you pass a lot of time thinking about, definitely, as a personal trainer, to get to the goals and setting them properly and also achieving them. But I guess also as a business owner right now, you have to do basically the same. But like just going, to the basics, what it is for you setting a goal and achieving it.
I mean, I think that one of the biggest things is people get disaligned with what a goal is and what a dream is, or a vision, right? For me, my belief is that a goal is essentially a vision or a dream or an aspiration that you have that's written down, right? And once you write it down, that's not enough. That's not going to make it happen. You have to break it down into steps, right? So, for example, you have a fitness goal, right? You want to lose, let's say, just to make numbers easy, you want to lose 12 pounds in the year, right? Okay, well, if you break that into quarters, right, you need to lose, 4 pound or 3 pounds a quarter. And then if you break that into months, it's okay, I need to lose a pound a month, right? So when you break it down, your goals start to seem not as big or unattainable. So even for us, like the gym, it was like, okay, we want to open a gym. Okay. And then from there, we reverse engineered it and broke it down into the steps, right? What is the first or the next milestone before we open the gym, and what's what you need to do before that and before that and before that, versus trying to think of it forward, and then you're like, well, I don't know what's next, you know.
Hmm.
So a lot of times a goal in any form or fashion is going to have unknowns, right? You don't know every step of the way. You might hit a plateau or you might hit an obstacle, and then you address that as it comes. Your goal and your plan for your goal isn't always going to go according to plan. So you got to realize that you have to have an adaptability to it to see the or to overcome the unseen.
Why do you think people fail in reaching their goals? Because I guess you've seen many of clients and people along the way.
I would say commitment. And when I say commitment, people are like, well, I'm committed. And it's like, you're committed for a certain time frame, right? But realize that commitment doesn't have a time frame, and your time frame to achieve your goal might not be the same as someone else's, whether it's to open a business, whether it's for your business to scale and to, you know, open a new location, whether it's for you to lose 10 pounds, right? You have different obstacles in your life and your daily activities than other people don't, right? You have birthday parties that people don't have, that you got to try to stick clean to your diet that they didn't have to, right? So it's like those things that people don't realize, and they start to compare themselves to others and other people's timeline, and then get discouraged by it. I mean, think about the gym. It gets super busy in January and February and even March, and then it starts to taper off and slow down come April. That's only a quarter of the year. So people stick, you know, get super gung ho, and they have all these, you know, motivational factors in the beginning. And then once they realize it's harder than, you know, they thought, they start to lose the motivation. But if they would just stay consistent, the results start to show. But they're just hitting
Hmm.
that threshold that they need to break through.
Yeah. So, yeah, commitment, it's a big thing. Look, I normally go on Saturday and Sundays at one specific class, and today I couldn't go because it was booked, completely booked already since like 2 days. And I'm like, what? Usually it's like three, four people of us. There's no way it's like fully booked. And I've noticed, like, even during Christmas time, I don't know if it's because people have more time and they decide, okay, why not? But it was pretty annoying. I mean, I'm showing up the whole year, and then when I also have a little bit more time, I cannot attend, or it's completely full. And yeah, I mean, you don't enjoy it as when you are three, four people, definitely. But it made me think. We'll see in the next months what happens.
No, definitely. And that's the thing, is like, you have to think all of a sudden, you know, like that not being able to book because they're overbooked. Like, that's one of the reasons why we created our gym, right? Because that doesn't happen. You know, people get upset and frustrated when they can't go at the times that they want to. But at the same time, you know, let's say for you, for example, you not being able to go to that class, now you have two options, right? You can be like, okay, well, I was going to go work out, but now they're booked, so I can't work out. Or you could have the mindset of, I was going to go do that workout, it's booked, I can't do that workout, so let me go out on a run outside, or let me do a workout at home. Let me YouTube a workout video, right? You know, YouTube has plenty of, and I think even Netflix, I think, has like a series of, from paired with Nike, um
Okay, I
you know.
didn't know
So
that.
yeah, so like even that, so it's like most people though will take the first option, and they're like, okay, well, that didn't work, so it is, I'll do it tomorrow, instead of being like, that didn't work, what is the solution to still hit my goal of working out today?
Yeah. Yeah, I just went to the gym. I just did my routine and I said, okay, whatever. But of course, if someone else wouldn't have their routine, they would just skip it and that's it. So,
Exactly.
talking about January, February, and so on, like, what do you think about New Year's resolutions? Because there's a lot talking about this right now, obviously.
So I'm actually not really big on New Year's resolutions, and the reason being is that people people that get really gung-ho on New Year's resolutions tend to have the same New Year's resolution every single year, right? For the most part, or a similar one. And it's almost like, I want to tell them, if you didn't hit it last year, you're probably not going to hit it this year. If you didn't hit it the year before that too, right? It's like, but why is that? It's because you have the mindset of this date being so special when in reality it's just another day. What is the difference between January 1st and December 23rd? Nothing. You still go through
Hmm.
your whole day, right? So it's like, why not start your goal now, right? Your journey now, and be that much further come January 1st, right? Because if you're
Yeah.
waiting till January 1st, that means you're going to be the same kind of person that you have a cheat meal on Friday, and then you're like, all of a sudden you're like, you know what? I'm just going to eat junk the rest of the day. I already messed up my diet. It's like, no, you messed up that one meal. You still have the rest of the day. Eat right the rest of the day. Like, mitigate the damage. You don't need
Hmm.
to wait until Monday. Tuesday's just as good as Monday to start. And that's the thing, is like New Year's resolution people, for the most part, don't will start to fall off because that New Year's resolution hype starts to fade, come, March, come April. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, you know, I forgot that I was
Yeah.
supposed to be, good on it.
Yeah. And I'm going to say something very unpopular. So today, what is it? It's the 4th of January for our listeners. It will be published a little bit later. So for sure, I needed to say when it is today. On the 1st, because everybody is so good at making these New Year's resolutions, I actually bet nobody who makes those New Year's resolutions on the 1st is doing any kind of sport.
Yep.
And I started this thing, some years ago that I hate, honestly, to do this 31st, because my idea would be in the mountains, have a chalet, like snow and very nice, yeah, making like a little bit of party, but the next day go hiking, in the snow and do something pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously it's very expensive. It's very, very expensive to do that. So I don't know, maybe one day I will be able to afford it. But for now, I'm just stuck in a big city and I just hate it. So I just go to sleep. And on the 1st, I'm like either going for a run, going for a hike, whatever I can. And it feels much better, than being in hangover on the first day of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this should be like a trend. And I've seen some people doing it. Like some years ago, I went skiing, but it's just like an artificial dome, which is not far away from the city. And I saw a lot of people doing it. So, and even on the 1st, I went this year running. I ran very slow, but 8 kilometers. So in the rain, the weather was so shitty. It was the worst day possible. A lot of wind. Seriously, it was very bad. But I felt so good because it was the 1st, and I said, okay, I just did it, you know?
Yep.
And I think it's a little bit about the commitment and discipline. If you can show up the 1st, I mean, and it's bad weather, whatever, then why not showing up the rest of the days when probably it's much better?
No, I agree. And that's why, I mean, even our gym, we actually close on the 1st. And we don't close because, we're hungover, we're doing anything. Like me and my business partner closed on the 1st last 2 years. And we were actually still at the gym. We got to the gym at 6 a.m. and we were already, just fixing some stuff up, just,
Wow.
retouching up the paint at 6 a.m. But we closed because the amount of people, even our members that show up on the 1st, isn't
Really?
really conducive to us being open for the entire day. And so new members and all that kind of stuff, like we'll call people and try to schedule people for their 1st, and they're like, I'm gonna come in on the 2nd, right? And so it's like, okay, well, we know that as a business it's a more strategic move to just open on the 2nd and do back office stuff and stuff on the 1st for us.
Mhm.
Now, me personally, I agree with you 100%. And one of the perspectives I was talking with someone is, people tell themselves, I'm going to be healthy on the 1st. I'm going to start this on the 1st. I'm going to do this on the 1st. Well, if you think about it, you're partying at December 31st at midnight. It hits 12:01. It is now January 1st, and you were drunk, right? So you already kind of broke your New Year's resolution if you think about it, you know?
That's right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's all about perspective on it. Like, you should want to wake up the 1st, if that's your mindset, is like, do you start the year off strong? You wake
Hmm.
up the first early, you go get a workout and you go, you already start to meal prep your stuff on the 31st, so that the first you're not trying to figure it out, right? If you are really strategic about it, like you're setting your game plan prior to having to execute it. You're not trying to figure it out all of a sudden. You're trying to build a ship while you're in the ocean.
So, talking about discipline, I saw you were talking about this in a short on YouTube on your channel, and I was really interested by that. And this is basically being consistent even when you are in good times, which is important. So it shouldn't be only when you are just rock bottom, but also when you're like at the maximum of your power, whatever. And I thought about it because, with psychotherapy, for example, one may always say psychotherapy useful when you are just, I don't know, stressed, sad, whatever happened. But nobody thinks about being self aware and thinking about what's happening to you, to your life, to the future, to the past when you're feeling good.
Hmm.
But then you said that no, actually, we should do it even then. And I thought about it and I was like, yeah, that's exactly even what happens to me, when I'm like, yeah, no, but I'm feeling perfect. And why should I don't know, exercise today? I can wait another day. So I was a little bit curious, is it for you this part just of the discipline? Or is it like, because I'm thinking, maybe it's just like a mindset, because like discipline and mindset are two different things. Mindset is more like whatever you are into has a way of thinking, but the
Hmm.
discipline is really like forcing sometimes yourself to do things.
Right. And I would even say that they are different in like terminology, but I would say that your mindset makes up your discipline, right? You have to have the right mindset to be disciplined. You have to have the right mindset to be motivated, and it all comes from internal, intrinsic motivations and intrinsic discipline, right? And so, exactly what you're saying is most time we get super disciplined when we want to hit a goal, or when things aren't going right, and we're like, what's not going right? Let me analyze this, let me reflect and see what was I doing before that I'm not doing now, right? And so when you start to think of it, then all of a sudden things start going right again. And then when things start going right again, then we stop analyzing, why it's going right, and then it starts to go bad again, right? The saying that I heard, that kind of made me think about this is, you're going through a rough time, just remember, this too shall pass. You're going through a great time, remember, this too shall pass. Because
Yeah.
it's the life cycles, because we get
Hmm.
lazier or we get complacent on what we're doing. We stop, counting our macros. We stop, working out as hard as frequently when we feel, that we're there. We don't need to do it as much. And all of a sudden we start to, take a step back, and then it's like, oh man, let me run up again. Let me do everything I need to. And then all of a sudden we get there and it's like, okay, now I can relax. It's like, no, there's always another peak to the next mountain. There's always the
Hmm.
next level. And so even if you're in a good phase, or you feel great, it's like that should be even more motivation to push you to the next level. It shouldn't allow you just to coast and think that you're going to be able to stay there. You're either going forward or you're going back. There is no in between.
Yeah, and being stable, it's also being still at some point, because if you're not improving in any way, what are you doing? You just stay in between. you know
Exactly.
yeah, so to achieve this, there are of course different kind of routines, and we can call it in different ways, habits, but I see a lot of those things. Sometimes I'm even irritated, actually. There's a lot of those influencers that have, each of them has a very specific secret for you. And I'm like I do lots of sports, and I mean, definitely I'm not a personal trainer, so I don't feel like to judge and say, oh, that's not going to work, or I don't feel it. But sometimes I feel like I'm personally not compelled to buy any of those programs. Really, I'm not. but I feel there's a lot of pressure, and I'm scared because people who have zero, you know, information or have never done sports, they can fall into these things a lot.
Hmm.
Um, but what's your opinion like? Because I don't feel to comment too much on it. I just have this gut feeling. But from a personal trainer perspective, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you. And I think that there's so many quote unquote personal trainers or life coaches, or, the deal never ends with these new titles that are coming out. And majority of the time, it's regurgitated information. That person got a coach, they took their information and then they're just reselling it. And then they're basically saying, because they got the results, right? So then they're promoting their results as they know how to do it, and then they're just giving someone else's advice to the next person. But you have to think that a plan should be personalized, because not no one's journeys are the same. So again, your life, your journey is different than the next person's. And a lot of these social media trainers, especially because I've seen a ton of them, and majority of the time it makes me laugh because the things that they're saying, I'm like, that's half true, or that's kind of right. You're on the right path. And I actually had which I normally don't do, but for some reason, either I was just in the mood to do it, or something kind of bugged me about it. But there was an Instagram influencer, um, that had made a comment and or made a little video, and I remember it was like, these aren't deadlifts. This is a deadlift, and his form was completely wrong. And the fact that he was saying this wasn't a deadlift, I was like, that actually is a deadlift. That's a traditional deadlift.
Mhm.
The thing you're saying that a deadlift is a Romanian deadlift, right? It's not not traditional deadlift. That's a Romanian deadlift. I was like, but you saying that this is the only deadlift, I was like, you're forgetting about the fact that there's sumo, there's cannonball, there's all these different variations of deadlifts as well, and they all target different muscle groups, and they all have a different rhyme and reason, right? And then all of a sudden he started to fire back, and then all of a sudden you could tell the other trainers in the group that were going to my side, and they're like, dude, you're wrong. To the other guy, I'm sorry, you're just wrong. I didn't even comment the second time, which just wasn't worth it. But it goes to show you where I've even had clients come to me, because remember, I never did online personal training, right?
Mhm.
Because the space is very competitive. And honestly, to me, it was going to devalue what I was doing with my clients. And I already built up a strong referral base. So I didn't need to go online. Right. And
Mhm.
my thing was, I've had clients come to me and show me what their online coach gave them beforehand. And I was just like, this actually doesn't work for you. This is why you gained weight. Or this is, and I would explain it to them and break it down from, not just say that this is a sucky plan, or this, you can't do this, but I would explain the macros and the science behind it. And then they're like, that makes a lot of sense, and then I was like, you have to realize, for certain people, let's say meal plans are the biggest thing. Meal plans, some people's bodies respond better well to carbs. Some people
Mhm.
respond better to fats, and other people have to go of a more balanced diet. Like me personally, I have to go more balanced. But if I've tried the keto and that, because like I've tried them all just to see how it responds, and the effectiveness for me personally. And when I went keto, I felt horrible. Like, I didn't feel good. I looked flat, like nothing. All of my muscles, weren't popping as much. And other people, it works great. But again, you have to realize that nutrition has a different play on you, on each person. So if you're gonna sign up for an online coach and they send you a meal plan within 5 minutes of you buying it, it's probably BS, right? If you're able to click purchase, you get an email, here's your meal plan. That's not a real meal plan. 1,000 people just got that same meal plan, you know? And
Yeah.
so that's the thing you got to be careful of is, not every good player on a team is a good coach,
Mhm.
right? Just because you are a professional bodybuilder doesn't mean you could be a professional bodybuilding coach.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is for any kind of teacher.
Hmm.
There's a Carl Sagan famously said that you cannot just, like, as you said, regurgitate information. Just take the information, learn it, and then just say it, and then be a teacher. The
Hmm.
teacher has to be able to recognize what's in their mind, what's in their body, in this case for the personal trainer, and then from there creating like a personalized, tailored program, and give the information based on that, not just I, I just read this and that's all I know. And of course, this is you can see this when you talk with them. We have a like a personal contact, and it's uh, it's also the reason why I started this podcast. And a lot of people may tell me like, why don't you do some exercises with videos of exercise? And okay, first of all, I could do that, but not really, because I'm not even like certified or anything. Like, why should I risk people's lives? If I do something that I can do because I can do it, but someone else cannot, and I don't know all the muscles. I know a lot of trainers also don't know those things, but still I'm not going to do it, right?
Hmm.
But I think, and I always had this feeling that it needs to be tailored on yourself, and the only way to do it is either you have someone who is really close with you, like a personal trainer, but it has to be very frequent and not everybody can afford it, or you just take up the information and you start studying yourself. You start trying things slowly, and then you tailor those things to yourself. Basically, if it doesn't work, as you said, you were trying keto, not working, okay, throw away. I've been fasting, it's working great for me, but I talk with other women and say, no, I was just lightheaded. I could do nothing without food, So and there's so much hype around all those topics that you can get easily confused. So it's a little bit difficult, I would say. And I've also seen, I have to say this, a lot of people go to the gym, and I would have never imagined this. Like very fit people, like very muscular, and they're like, okay. And then it turns out they do eat junk food, they do drink alcohol, and I'm like, and they do party animal, like seriously, not sleeping, and this maybe they're because they're young, but I don't know. I just feel that for some people, if they do that, well, then they just get fat. They get very not functional at all. Some other people are just blessed,
Hmm.
genetically speaking, and that's why, as you said, some people just get fat with one diet and another person won't. And yeah, it's a problem because some people will just get depressed that it's not working. What am I doing wrong? Well, you just have to try out more things.
Exactly. And like I would say even too of that, like, with saying people are, some people are just genetically gifted. There is that category of people, right?
Yeah,
And so let's say, for example, too, you're buying an ab course, because you want to get rock hard, a 6-pack or 8-pack or whatever, and you're buying it from someone that's more of an ectomorph that's naturally already lean. They struggle to put on weight, right? And
yeah,
they're telling you how to burn weight, right? And it's like they've never had to go through that process of burning the fat. They pretty much were born to say, let's say they're born with abs, right? They could do
yeah,
nothing and they still have a 6-pack, but they're telling you these are the exercises that's going to give you a 6-pack without a certification or actual science behind it. It's like most people believe them just because they have a 6-pack, right?
yeah,
The other thing is, like you mentioned, one thing I want to touch on real quick is you mentioned, people ask you to do workout videos and stuff. That could be super beneficial for some people. But what people don't realize is without the knowledge of, let's say you're doing a squat, a barbell squat, right? Depending on the person's torso length, as well as depending on the person's, leg length, it actually changes the position of what a
hmm,
squat actually looks like, right? So the uncertified or the unknowledgeable trainer or just the gym bro or gym girl, right, is going to think that their version of a squat is a squat because that's what's comfortable for them. But then when they try to have a client do it and they can't get their chest as arched, or they can't put the bar as high positioned, and they have to put it a little bit lower to get that same movement, they don't understand the reasoning behind it, right? And then
hmm,
even more so is like some people can do a squat with their toes facing straight forward. Other people have to have them pivoted out just slightly because that's what's more ergonomical for their hips.
Hmm. Yeah, this is always the problem, I would say. But do you think it should be that, if has a personal trainer, d- do you have to teach only to people who have your similar body, or like, because we discuss about going through the process of burning fat, and if you're just born lean, what the hell do you know about burning fat? Obviously,
Mhm.
it's a process you've never experienced. So do you think those people should only teach to people with similar bodies as they have?
No, definitely not. I mean, I've never been 400 pounds, but I've had clients that were 400 pounds. But the thing is, one, I've learned the knowledge to one burn fat. I've learned the knowledge to add muscle, right? I've trained pro athletes and I've trained people with Parkinson's, right? So I've done a full spectrum of things. But again, I didn't go into that client thinking like that my first Parkinson's client, right? I didn't go into that session blind. Like I did my due diligence. Like I spent a week, I told them we can't train for a week because I need to look up a few things. And when I said a few things, I made it sound just, small to them, but I spent a week really diving in to make sure that I don't do anything that they can't do that's going to injure them, and what are the best techniques, stretches, all those kind of things, so that I can go into that first session and then evaluate them with more knowledge behind it. And then after the evaluation, then I can actually critique it a little bit and start to personalize it. But as far as, when I said the person with a six pack, telling someone to lose weight, that's more for like the unknowledgeable, like uncertified, never gone to school for it. Just, they know that a crunch works your abs. They know a side plank does your obliques, but they don't know the fact that there's internal, external, and transverse obliques. What is the difference between all three? What's the difference between like your pec minor, your pec major, like all those different things that they just have a six pack. And so they're just telling people to just do abs, right? Abs are made in the kitchen, those kind of deal, right? But I think that having a wide range of clients is completely okay as long as you have the knowledge,
Hmm.
or at least are willing to find the knowledge to help that person, strategically.
So basically, you should not only be a certified personal trainer, but also a lifelong learner who
100%.
wants to do your own research, keep reading. Yeah, I think, I mean, in any field, that's always beneficial, I would say. But what about, women saying, okay, I just want to have a female trainer, or a man wanting to have a man trainer? Like, is there any correlation with this? Does it make sense? Because sometimes I
Mm-hmm.
also feel I want to have a woman, but I don't know, maybe it's just bias.
No, and I mean, and you're not wrong in thinking that, and that does come up, I would say, more times than not. I've met some female trainers that were just as knowledgeable, if not more knowledgeable than myself, and I wouldn't mind them being my trainer,
Mm-hmm.
and giving me that external motivation. I mean, would I be comfortable with them spotting me for a 350-pound bench? Probably not. But at the same time, that's one of those things where, again, that's one limiting factor. But unless I'm becoming a power lifter and I need that person as a spot, that'd be my only thing. I've had a plethora of female clients that were originally hesitant because I was a male. And then I was like, look, let's do one session. It's on me. It's free, right? Let's do one session. If you're uncomfortable, if you will still want a female trainer, I have a few that, I'm friends with, I can refer you to them, right? If afterwards you're comfortable with the session, then we can continue from there. So all is, a base, a situation by situation basis. And I think that one of the things I teach in my gym for all my trainers, and the reason I was able to grow such a big client base, is there's a perception when you're a trainer, right? And so you're giving a perception off to not only the client, but to the rest of the gym. And what I mean by that is I've seen guide trainers sit or stand in front of a female client while they're doing the hip adduction and abduction machine where they're opening and closing their legs. It's like, that's not the place you stand. Yes, you're making eye contact, but also that's an inappropriate position to be standing, regardless of where your eyes are, right? Because the perception of someone standing behind you, another member in the gym, they don't know where your eyes are, right? If a guy or a girl is doing sit-ups, and you're sitting at their feet holding their feet, right? You're again in an inappropriate spot. It's like, get a dumbbell or get a bar, have them hold that with their feet and stand to the side of them, and not even stand, get on a knee so you're closer to them, right? You're not in an intimidating position. So it's all about body language, but perception that you're giving to the gym. And I think that majority of female clients aren't as scared to have a male trainer. It's the perception that their boyfriend, their husband is going to have, right? So I,
Okay.
but that's, and honestly, but that's the case majority of the time, because there are those trainers out there that give the other trainers a bad rep, and
Okay.
that's the thing where it's like, I tell all clients, you can bring your husband, he can do the first workout with you, you know I'm cool with it. He can sit in every session. I don't care. Like, I'm gonna let you know the session's gonna be the same. Like, I'm not gonna take it easier on you. I'm not gonna not push you. If you throw up that session, you throw up that session. It is what it is, right? But at the same time, I've had husbands sit in on sessions before, and me and him would talk, during the session, after the session, whatever, and they're comfortable with it. And that's why female clients, for me, would refer their other friends, because I've had clients for years, and it's like, I've never crossed that line. And if a client tries to cross that line with me, I drop them as a client, because that perception is unacceptable for me.
Yeah,
You know.
of course. I've never thought it that way, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But do they come, like, seriously, do they come just for watching or do they come also to train? The
No,
husbands I'm talking about.
they majority of the time they'll. My whole thing is, if they come, I try to get them to work out. Right. So,
Okay.
like, I'd tell them they can just come in and watch. And I've had people come in and watch, and they're like, I'm just gonna do, the treadmill, and they'll watch from the mirrors and whatever, or they'll just kind of be like, their presence is there. Other people, majority of the guys, I can get them to do the session with the girl, and they end up dying out before their wife or their girlfriend does, because their girlfriend goes to the gym or wife goes to the gym every single day, and they don't go to the gym. You're right. So I've had that aspect, more times than not. And then the husband ends up signing up with me too for a different day. He's like, because they don't want to be embarrassed by their wife or their girlfriend. So they're like, let me come on my own day. Right. And so it ends up working out in that fashion, at least for myself.
That sounds pretty cool. So when you, because now you're a business owner and you have multiple gyms, when you hire trainers, because we talk about certifications, but also you need to be a lifelong learner. How do you actually spot this? Because I think it's not easy to see it. Certification is a certification; it's a piece of paper. But what about, yeah, the mindset?
So, I mean, in our interview process, when someone has a certification, honestly, that doesn't mean much to me. I've met people that are not certified that have more knowledge than certified people. Right. And so certification to me, honestly, is just an ability for us to have insurance, on the gym.
Hmm.
So when someone comes through the hiring process, like, we actually have a set of questions that we ask, you know, based off of, random movements that, the members are doing in the day. What is the modification for this? What is the incorrect form? What is that person doing wrong before, we go correct them? What is that person doing wrong? And I want to know their honest answer, right? And sometimes there's multiple correct answers. Majority of the time there is, but I want to know what your answer is on the spot, right? And because that's
Hmm.
when you're a trainer, things happen on the spot. They're live.
Yeah.
So the easiest way to do it is, asking questions that that it's a little more complicated. Let's say a squat, like we were talking about earlier, what's a positioning for a squat, right? And you have them actually do one, and then awesome. What if I was 6'2" and my legs were, I had long legs, right? What would be the difference? And see what they say, right? And so you can kind of tell. And if they don't know, that's okay. What I want someone to do if they don't know is say, I'm not sure, because
Hmm.
that tells me that's a person that doesn't try to just make up answers and fake that they know everything. And that same person, I guarantee, would go home and look it up, right? And
True.
so with us, it's like, if a member asks one of our trainers something and they don't know the answer, they are required to say, I don't know, let me find out, and then come ask myself, my partner, our manager, ask them and get the answer, so that that same trainer now knows, that same trainer goes back and gives them the answer.
Hmm. So, and what about for our listeners? Because I'm thinking, if I want, as a private person, hire a personal trainer, what kind of questions can I ask? Because maybe the ones you said are just a little bit, as a business owner, it makes sense. Okay, I'm interviewing you, I'm asking like all those tricky questions. But as a normal private person, what can I ask?
I mean, you can ask anything you want, and the trainer should be able to answer them right without getting uncomfortable. But I would ask my biggest questions that I would I would give the answers to, even if the person didn't ask a question, right? Is what kind of clients did you have you had in the past, right? And if it's all
Mm-hmm.
bodybuilding clients, right, you already know that their workout style is going to be only bodybuilding. Um, Ask them, have you ever had clients that have had, if you have injuries, what kind of clients have you dealt with that had injuries? You know, do you know how to, or do you give advice with nutrition, right? And then if they say yes, because the majority of the trainers are going to end up saying yes, even if they don't know what to do, say, okay, like what what do you think would be better for me, right? Off the bat, just
Mm-hmm.
what kind of meal plan are we going to start on? And then if they give you a fast answer of, oh yeah, we're going to cut out carbs and all that, that's the majority of the thing, cut out carbs, cut out sugars and all those things. It's like, okay, well, they're not asking you the questions. Every time a trainer gets asked a question that deals with you and your journey, I need to ask you questions to find out the answer, because I don't know everything about you yet, right? So
Yeah.
if a trainer is asking you questions like, I want to lose 10 pounds, that's my goal. My response isn't okay, we can do that. It's okay, how many days are you planning to work out in a week? What does your nutrition look like? Are you drinking, how much water do you drink in a day? How many hours are you sleeping in a day? And I start asking these questions, like, okay, so if that's your current circumstances, are you willing to add an extra day of working out? If you say no, then I'm like, okay, then I need to adjust a different area, right? So those kind of things, again, every plan is personalized, and it can only be personalized if I know your answers and know what you're honestly giving me, right? So that's one of those things where ask your trainer, and if he's just giving you or she's just giving you very generic answers, realize that your program is probably going to be pretty generic as well.
Yeah, like those standard programs that don't work,
Yep.
basically. Okay. Okay. I have a question to challenge you a little bit.
Okay.
I hope you won't hate me.
No, let's do it.
But it's public because you said this on your YouTube channel. So,
Let's do it.
so you said that you wanted to not work for anybody else,
Mm-hmm.
because it was just like not possible for you to be a little bit more creative and just add on top the value. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, they were pushing you to follow a system that was not working. So you noticed that and you didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
And you wanted to add something, but they did not allow you to do it. So you said, okay, when then at this point, I just go solo and I open my own business and do so on and so forth, which I think it's a great thing, because if they forced you, then and you saw it was not working, definitely bad idea. But then I'm asking myself, do you allow flexibility? Like, for example, what if your trainers come to you and say, well, Devon, this is not working. We have to change it.
Mm-hmm.
Is it something like you would open to discuss, or you just like follow, because you have stations and you have a system as well, right? With your type
Mm-hmm.
of gym, it's not like any other gym. So, what would be your answer?
No, yeah, no, honestly, that's a great question. And I will say it wasn't the fact that they wouldn't let me do anything else and they made me follow it. It was the reason why I realized I needed to go on my own is because they weren't willing to listen to why I was doing what I was doing or wanted to do what I was doing. And the issue I was having when I was working for someone else is I was getting better results than the rest of the team. So it wasn't like I was underperforming. I was overperforming and getting in trouble because I didn't read the script that they wanted to. And I was like, I'm not saying anything that's not on this script. I'm just not saying it verbatim the way you wanted it to. Right. I don't understand why you're getting mad. Like, if I'm getting better results and everyone's happy, like, why aren't you happy? Because it's not your method. Right. So a lot of the things that we have at our gym, before I go right into the answer, is we don't give scripts, right? We have outlines, and our whole thing is we want each trainer to tailor the outline to their personality, right? Because if you try to
Mhm.
sell like I sell, it's going to not seem authentic. If you go to talk to a customer and you answer the phone and you have to say it verbatim, it sounds robotic because it is. So for us, we have an open door policy. I was actually talking on the second with two of my trainers, and they brought up some really interesting ideas. And I told them, I was like, dude, like I'm super into it. Like let's research it a little bit. Like I'm not against it, right? And there are other ideas that are brought, and it's like, one, either we've tried it and it didn't work, and we didn't try it just once, we tried it a few times, it didn't work. So instead of telling him, no, we're not doing that, it's like, I explained to him, we tried that, this is the reason it didn't work, blah blah blah. If you guys can think of a solution to that issue, then I'm more than happy to try it again. But this is what we currently kept facing, and it just wasn't, the risk to reward wasn't beneficial to us. But if now that you guys know the problem with that, if you guys can think of a solution around it, let's run it again. And even with our franchise locations, same deal, right? We have an open door policy. If there's a piece of equipment that we don't currently have, if there's um, a challenge or an event that they want to run, like bring it to us, and so we can talk about it, right? Because at the end of the day, I want to make sure that you're successful, but I know that I don't know everything. And I know
Mhm.
that the more minds that are working on continuing to grow the brand, it's only going to be that much better. So we've had people, one of the people asked, if she could bring her cold plunge, and I was like, that, I'm sorry, like that one, I'm going to say probably not. And the reason is, again, I can dive a little more into it. We can go into it. I was like, one, the cost of having a cold plunge and the into every location probably isn't going to be feasible, but it's the insurance that's going to be, you're going to get hit with, right? That it's not going to be the risk to reward for you as a business owner isn't going to be. But before I say no, let me do a little bit of research and ask out, and see how much it actually is to get the insurance for that, what's the liability, and all those kind of
Mhm.
things. Because some of our franchise system, there's requirements and then there's options, right? So you don't have to do everything that we're doing. You can just do certain things, right? And you can kind of custom mix and match what you want. And then even for supplements, right? We have a couple lines of supplements in our gym, but again, I know I don't know every single supplement line out there. There's like a new one every month, that comes out. And so if someone else is really strongly opinionated about a certain supplement line, they're not allowed to put it in their gym yet. Send it to me so I can research it and I'll reach out to them. Because the one thing is, if you just buy it, like you're going to hit full price. I can get vendor deals for it, right? I can get you discounts on the discounts. But if they're not a quality supplement, then I don't want it in the gym, and I'll explain why. Right. So it's, for me, it's all
Yeah.
about open door policy, but not just yes or no's. You have to be willing to explain it so the person knows that there's a reason why you're saying no.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Absolutely. You need to maintain a certain level of quality after all. Otherwise, why are you doing it?
Exactly.
Right. And you also wrote a book, it's coming out, right?
Yeah, it'll be coming out January 14th.
Okay, so really soon. What's the title?
So the title's called Money Muscle Mindset. It's essentially a playbook. And I've read a bunch of these, similar, but every time I read them, it was very generic. And again, it almost was like that copy and paste from other coaches and stuff.
Mhm.
And after doing some research on some of the people, like they never even opened a gym. So it's like, how are you writing on a book about opening a gym when you've never built a gym? So this book is essentially for any fitness enthusiast or personal trainer that's looking to open a gym, and
Mhm.
it dives into the first chapter and the last chapter are essentially about mindset, right? Because my whole philosophy is it all begins and ends with your mindset, right? If you believe you can do something, you can. But once you stop believing that you can do it, you're not going to do it, right? So,
True.
and then all the middle chapters are about essentially every aspect of opening a gym, from finding a location, what are you looking for, what can you negotiate on, to how do you design your program and niche down to a market. how do you find your client avatar, right? All those things. And then on top of that, since I didn't want to write a 500-page book, it's like 100, it's like 100, 120 pages. Each chapter comes with a QR code that when you scan the QR code, it's not a thing where it's like, go through a bunch of forms. It's literally takes you to a website, my website. And then on that website, without having to input any information, you get to watch the video associated with that website, or with that chapter essentially. And that video essentially is me talking about that chapter a lot more in depth and a lot more, expressive. Instead of it being so formal in reading, I get to just have my natural talk, with the people about that actual chapter.
A podcast in a book.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's pretty cool, I would say. Yeah, nowadays we have all those. I read a lot of books, and definitely we have these new integrations where you can just, go and do, let's say, a test, quiz, or you can read more, or you can get resources. So I think it was a great idea to add those QR codes. So closing. Now you are, so you already opened a couple already, right?
Yeah,
In your
we're op-
franchising, couple of gyms.
yeah, and we're opening up one in Florida, Tampa, and then Dallas, Texas, and Vancouver, Washington.
Okay, so what's next? Is it like just franchising, go further with that, or is there anything else you're thinking about?
I mean, my main focus is the franchise. Like, anything else that I'm building out, it's I believe in like the entrepreneurship, like vertical build, where it's a lot of entrepreneurs, they'll open up a gym and then they open up a car wash and then they're opening up, a restaurant. It's like all those things are separate. So you're giving
Hmm.
your attention to separate different things, but you're only a specialist in one of those industries. For us, like I built a CRM that is for our franchise. Like we're going to end up building a supplement company, but again, it's only for our franchise. So the other companies that we build are all integrated into the same company, but the whole purpose behind it is to save every location money, and essentially in the process of saving them money at scale, essentially because it doesn't happen right off the bat, but saving our franchisees money at scale will start to actually, be its own revenue stream and profit stream in the long run.
Yeah, makes sense to focus on one single streamline of business and be expert in that. That's, I
Hmm.
think, what also differentiates you when you are trying to do something that you're passionate about and that you really want to excel, and not just I'm doing it for the money, so I'm just opening a bunch of small businesses because I just want to make profits. And I think in the end you can see it
Hmm.
as a customer
Exactly.
customer
Exactly.
point of view. All right. Devan, thank you very much for joining me today. It was really nice to have your opinion, and also this new system that you have in in your gym. It's pretty interesting for me that I already practice sports since some time. So it was nice to know you and have you here on Aduthlete.
It is an honor. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.